my colleague, and today's speaker, Arja. We are hosting this webinar for you. Dana, let us start. So today's topic is reframing ESG as a strategic mitigation tool. As you all are aware about Kotekna, but let me introduce Kotekna once again. Those who have not gone through our website or the company profile. So for more than 50 years, Kotekna has been supporting agriculture, metals and minerals, pharma, food, and then again consumer product services, and we provide testing, inspection, and certification services in these areas. We were founded in the year 1974 in Switzerland, and now it has grown to a large multinational organization with more than 8,100 employees all over the world, with 180 plus countries, 50 plus countries and 180 plus offices across the world. Okay, and we provide the services in food, pharma, metals and minerals, agriculture, and consumer product services. This is a global map. You can see our presence. We have 40 plus employees in Geneva, which is our headquarter. Then we have presence in Europe, Asia, and Middle East, in Africa, South Africa, and North America. Next slide, please. This is Kotekna India in a nutshell, that what we provide here. So we are the scheme owners. We provide IFS, FSSC 2020, 22,000, ISCC, GMP Plus, trustee certifications. We have accreditations from NABCB, NAB, and under ESG, we provide certification under ISO 14064 standards. And we have approval from EPIDA, FSPCA, then T-Board, then HFDB, right? So these are the accreditations that we have, and we are the certifying body as well. Next slide, please. Yeah. So these are our key stakeholders. You can see under oil and gas, food and beverage, seafood, rubbers and chemicals, retail, paper and packaging. These are the top clients that we serve, and we have been providing value-added services to all of them. Okay. Now this is the topic of today's webinar and what are the sections that we are covering. So we will be covering ESG beyond compliance, risk, then ESG into ERM, then how we can mitigate the risk using ESG, and other governance and assurance, how we can implement ESG in your organization. So over to you, Arja. Arja is a team lead here who heads the ESG wing under CQR, that is certification business, that we conduct from India. Arja, over to you.
Thanks, Nitin. Welcome all. Uh, Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, which part of the world you are. So quite diverse audience, and thank you for joining. Uh, I have been with Kotekna since half a year, so almost, and I have a total experience of 17 plus years, mostly into sustainability and impact assessments. So this is the area I have been dealing with. I do also hold a PhD in this area. So when we started, we as a team trying to contemplate which thing is really important today. Even if after floating this webinar, I got calls that why this risk and reliance. I told this is the major thing we are handling today. Everything the world we are transiting in. It's been risk related, trying to mitigate the risk, trying to be more responsible, and of course, a resilience, because, today's world is quite, uncertain in case you do not know what when happens, the climate catastrophe, the geopolitical transitions, everything. So we need our companies, your companies, we also all of us need a very protective layer of risk mitigation tools to have a good transition. Next slide, please. Yeah. So ESG typically, from its evolution, okay, from very start to this, it has always been seen as a tick mark. We see a report, adherence, assurance report, then some SDG alliance, all those things. But somehow we feel that it has not been able to make its way to the ERM, the enterprise risk management. ERM, of course, ERM, of course, is the core heart of risk management in any corporate. So, what we feel rather than treating ESG, okay, into just a compliance, just a tick mark, or just a annual kind of worksheet, why don't we embed it to our core heart of risk? Okay, and which is quite there. So, one of there are two views. Okay, two views. We see also very matured organization which has done those ESG transition into their ERM, into their enterprises risk mitigation or management tool. So the compliance view is quite a narrow and a myopic view. Okay, I would say that yes. The risk view is a prolonged, embedded, and a cohesive view that takes ESG along, and it embeds the values of ESG along the corporate funnel. So if you see annual, the compliance view only always says a annual disclosure, a annual report, like I said before, it's just the framework mapping to what we are doing, what we are not doing. And the ownership is typically department wise. There is a ESG department that takes care of, or a environment or a health safety department that takes care of all the things, compliance and everything. And the rest all department are quite not prone to it. And it is a reactive measure. Suppose a stakeholder grievance comes, a stakeholder compliance comes up. We just put out a report, give some checklist to them, or a customer comes with we need such and such disclosures. You give that disclosures. It's more of a reactive. It's not a process oriented. We haven't embedded it in our process. When it comes to the risk view, it's more of a board level. It drops down. Okay, the risk appetite, we know how to do it. There are control measures for it. There are KPIs defined, and there are ownership in the delegation of ownership have been defined. So it is the integration into the core strategy, the business strategy, operations, and the supply chain. It also, while doing so in the risk view, you'll see it also gives you a protected environment to operate. Okay, I won't say fully, but yes, to some extent. Next slide, please. Yes. So, why ESG belongs to the ERM the most? Otherwise, otherwise, the ESG or the sustainability, we won't be able to make it through the entirety from top to bottom or the bottom to up in our organization. It will be just, as I said earlier, it will just be a departmental know-how, a departmental structure, not a pan, you know, organization thing. The first thing, in the ERM, what should be embedded, what we think should be, is climate and energy. The carbon costs, the physical risk. The physical risks are mainly, the natural risks. Okay, the natural calamity, flood, and all those things. There are transition risks also associated with the physical risk. Then there are market compliances. Most of the markets around the globe now are really going from non-mandated disclosure to a mandated disclosure. So to avoid those, to get more investment in, so we need to have that. Also governance and ethics, because the data control nowadays, data privacy, data integrity are quite a bit talked about. So that is what the control needs to be there. Supply chain disruption, now of course, all over the news we are seeing, there are supply chain risks, there are this risk, oil and gas, all those things, to at least have a protective measure for it. Then, of course, lastly, not the least, at least, people and safety. Okay, so people, I may say both internal and external, all the stakeholders, I mean to say, the entire the social part of it, and of course the community conflict. We need to have a mitigation part. Next slide, please. Yes. So this is the main architecture. Okay, main architecture. This slide actually talks about the architecture of the embeddedness of ESG into the risk framework. The strategic risk, operational risk, financial risk, legal and reputational. Correct. When we talk of strategic risk, it is the market access, your product transition, and investor expectation. So when we talk of these three things, market access. Suppose we are a good sustainable organizations. Our products are quite well sourced. We package it well. We deliver it well. So we have a different market access. We have a customer for it. Okay, and customers are ready to pay the premium for it. Product transition, of course, some of, not all the things will be in that line. Some of the product will always be in transition, keeping from what we are currently operating to the, best possible way. So that is also there. We are also preparing. That transition is also there. Then investors expectation. Nowadays, if you see, there are, ESG funds, climate funds, ESG investments, all those things going on. Also, people, investors, they look around these all factors, okay, while investing, because these are quite critical now. Okay, because suppose I'm not a climate resilient, know my industry or my factory is situated somewhere else, which is flood prone. Earlier it wasn't, but now it is. So how am I going to, operate? So those are all the things, core investors they look at. Operational, of course, energy security, one, water, if the ground level or the water scarcity is there, how are we going to operate? Waste, how are we disposing the waste? That's an important factor. Okay, are we throwing it to the landfill or anywhere, or are we doing it very, intelligently and responsibly? So then availability of labor. That's one of the challenges also for the company. Uh, it's because wherever we are situated, if the climate changes, there is a transition of labor, it's too hot, people are not willing to work and all those things, then also we need to think. There are financial costs. Now, of course, the CBAM is live. Everything that goes, especially the mines and metals, everything goes to the European shores. It has to be CBAM compliant. So the tax rates are already been defined. It's all over the internet. There are heavier insurance for those who are not this risk of, those who don't mitigate the risk. There are costs also. There are assets that are been put into risk category if you are not compliant. Of course, legal is there. Legal disclosures, the safety thing. If you don't do the proper plugins in the safety, uh, you know, all the safety, not just health safety, the entire safety of your premises. There are, legalities. There are, regulations from whichever land you have. Then there is reputational. Reputational is quite important nowadays because, everything has been searched and everything has been posted in social media. So for a company, it is quite now important to be more responsible, because somewhere, somewhat doing something wrong might affect their entire businesses. And there are multiple examples. So, we need to really think about it. Next slide. Yes. So how to do it? We'll spend some time over here. How really we want to do it? We talked of there are risks, of course there is risk, but how to do it? I suppose everybody would have heard about materiality. Okay. Two sets of very popular materiality. One is impact materiality, one is double materiality. So impact materiality is like, what are the important topics of concern, okay, to us as a company. Double materiality is like, what are the matters, topics of concern to us as well as to the society or the environment or wherever we operate, to the larger stakeholders. In a very, candid way, I'm not going into details. The first thing we need to do is we need to identify the topic of importance. That is what a material topic otherwise to us and the stakeholders, to us and to the stakeholders also. Then we need to align our risks. Okay, high risk, low risk, medium risk. Okay, associated with those topics, how it is. Then we have to score it. Like, there are various way, there are Excel sheets available, there are, various things available to do it. We do, scoring is, kind of what is the likelihood to be occurring, what is the impact, and our preparedness. Suppose suppose we say energy security is one of our material topic. Okay. How likely it is to be occurring? Suppose say from 1 to 4, 1 to 5, we score it, suppose 4. Then what is the impact? The impact is catastrophic. We will be impacted here, there, and everywhere. So it is 5. Then how are we prepared? If you are prepared well, then it goes to 5, not very well, 3 to 4. Just doing what we need to, then 2, 1 is just negative. So there, what we defined is how impactful that topic is for us and the stakeholders. Remember, while doing materiality, do include external stakeholders also. I would not recommend, we do not recommend actually to do it, in a boardroom or just a meeting, internal meeting, because stakeholders are, the internal and both the external stakeholders are quite important for that. Then the next step is we need to have control owners. Who owns that? Suppose energy, which team owns that? Okay. Suppose social impact, which team? So suppose HR impact, who owns that? So we need to have more impactful control owners. Okay. Then there will be delegation of authority. Who will own it? Will implement it? Will operate it? And who will measure it? Then who will monitor it? Done. Then there has to be mitigation KPIs. These KPIs, for us, what we feel is we need to, define the KPIs, very measurable ones. Okay. Unless and until we do that, what we are, suppose we are just writing down, verbatim. We are not doing enough to do that. So what exactly I mean to say, suppose, the KPI is, let's again say it is energy intensity or energy security. So the KPI would be to reduce the energy consumption, to optimize the energy consumption and the cost related to it. Okay, how will you do that? Who will be the owner? There will be process owners also. So in that case, the KPIs are distributed. And also, these KPIs might reflect in the job description. Unless and until that is done, then ESG is only a matter in your Excel sheets or your PPTs or reports. You have to give those KPIs when distributed in the job descriptions also, in the process owners, of the process owners. There starts the real implementation of ESG. It's not just, your pages to be filled or a client, whatever the client audit says or the auditor says, nothing. It's that way you feel. Even it should reflect from top to bottom. It starts from vision, mission, policy, strategy. Then these all have KPIs. Those KPIs are to be embedded in the similar way. It has these all things have to be embedded in the job descriptions with proper control. Next slide, please. Yes, like I said, you need to identify. Okay, suppose we told how to do a materiality. Then identification. Identification will be the first, thing that you do after materiality. When you do that, uh, you also, see if it is an opportunity or a risk. Then you put the impact areas, the geographical areas or the, areas, the departments also that you can map. Then we have to map it. Okay, like I said, mapping the ERM category it falls to, like we said it earlier, the strategy, the operations, and the legal, the reputational, we have to map it there. Then the stakeholders affected and the business unit, the SKUs or the business unit. Of course, the scoring, like we talked earlier, prioritize, we cannot, as a company also, let's be candid, we cannot focus on each and everything in a single financial year or a calendar year. We need to prioritize our short term targets, our medium term targets, and the long term targets. So, those are quite important because taking care of your company's position, okay, where we stand. Okay. Uh, if you remember somewhere, you might have seen uh, the first three pillars of sustainability was people, planet, and profit. Okay, why it was there? It was there because people taking care of people, taking care of planet, and taking care of profit. Profit. Why profit was important? Because we need some kind of margin or some cash to take care of these things. That's why this transition. That's why we propose. That's why this transition. While we embed the people KPIs and the planet KPIs in the governance, okay, it always reflects in the bottom line. It always reflects in the bottom line. So there we are. Then, of course, we have, after prioritization, we have mitigations, we have SOPs, we do training. Suppliers are being told how to do, how to get matured, how to be more responsible. And of course, monitor. Monitoring is quite, it's a very bird's eye view one needs to have of the company, how it is transitioning, how we are going responsible, how we are really mitigating the tools, risks, so everything else. Next slide. Yes. So this is what a typical, this is just an example. Do not take it, uh, seriously. So, the map will, look like somewhat like this. Okay. After you uh, do the proper mapping heat map. So you'll see like, suppose the risk one is climate transition, then risk two is suppliers ESG non-conformance, then risk three. So these are all mapped. So you can see those things. So that is quite, uh, it gives you a wholesome, like I said, a bird's eye picture of how you are where are you, and it evolves because as your data evolves, as your implementation evolves, as you grow mature, this register evolves also. This has to be a dynamic register. Okay, this cannot be just a standalone. Once it is done, then we keep it aside and we pause it. No, it has to be a dynamic register. These things keep changing. Might be sometimes will be the climate transition will be in red or blue. So it depends. Okay, where are you currently? So this has to be a working register than rather than just a one-time job. Next slide. Yes. So this is the control architecture. We said, how do you control? Because that is the most important thing in a corporates too. There has to be a governance control. Okay, we have figured out what are important, impactful topics for short-term, medium-term targets are. So how do you really progress after that? There are governance controls. Board has to take a control of this. Board meetings, exclusive board meetings can be done over the topics. There has to be committees for that, who meet either quarterly, half yearly, but not annually, because it has to be, some seriousness has to be there. Then what is our risk appetite? And of course, policy approvals, there has to be a evolution of policies according to the risks we are trying to address. Then there has to be management controls, as we said. Then operational controls also, management control and operational controls, quite parallel. Okay, quite parallel. Then data control, of course, the delegation of authority should be there. There should be evidences, trails, sign-offs that if the work is done, if suppose we targeted, suppose 10 megawatt of renewable energy, if the target is done, then sign-offs, then next target of 20 megawatts. So those all things have to be really controlled. And of course, assurance, there has to be independent assurance. You can have independent, certification bodies to do your assurance. Internal audits, of course, a part of it. Then, the corrective action, the CAPA. Next slide, please. Yeah. Three main pillars of the risk, I say. One is physical risk, like I said, the heat stress, the flooding, the water scarcity. We discussed it earlier. Transition, of course, related to that, what can be the cost? Okay, related to that, the carbon pricing. Yes, the customer expectations are increasing day by day. Technology shift. Okay, suppose we are operating in a situation where the technology is dated back, so the efficiency will decrease, and also the emissions are increased. So that we also need to see. There are financial costs associated with the energy transition. These are all examples. Then the response, the response to this risk is the ERM response. If you plug the ESG risk to the ERM, the scenario based analysis needs to be done. Okay, suppose there is a flood or a heat stress, how to source, what to do, how to operate, those are scenario analysis. Insurance need to be revised. Okay, then there has to be a capex provision and prioritization in the balance sheet also for that. There has to be a roadmap for everything. Okay, this is my consumption here. I have to reduce it. I have to increase if I'm going for another. If it increases, what are the risks? How I'm going to mitigate it? Those are all things. Suppliers engagement. Sometimes we forget suppliers. We do not educate the suppliers. Okay, we do not educate them enough to meet our. We just educate enough them to meet our own business purpose, but not the responsible or the ESG purposes. So we need to educate them. There has to be a proper continuous engagement. It cannot be a one time one. Okay, so that is it. Next. Yes. So somebody, while getting those queries in online, this was the main query, supply chain ESG risk. So I thought of giving out a view because this is quite important for nowadays. Now, there has to be a supplier segmentation, which is a high value by volume, by costs we need to have. Then there has to be ESG due diligence for it. Okay, that has to be done internally. Okay, otherwise, what are matured companies doing? They're also hiring third parties to do their ESG due diligence of their value chain, entire value chain partners. So that can also be done. There can be a risk rating internal also, corrective action, of course, and monitoring. Monitoring every time, there is a monitoring. Why? Because what monitoring, okay, let's not confuse between monitoring, because sometimes what happens is we tighten the control, we tighten the screws. Okay, it's not like that. Monitoring is just reviewing where we are, and suppose we are lagging, okay, what steps needs to be taken. Okay, that is why monitoring is required. It's not that you screw something tight or something like that. It's not like that. So it's just someone else apart from the implementation part, someone else is viewing to see if we are aligned with the targets we have taken. Next. Yes. So this is one of the risks, data, the inconsistent boundaries. Uh, while taking targets, I'll say this can be controlled. While taking the topics of importance to us and the entire stakeholder universe, we need to have what we want to do and where we want to. Okay. So that has to be defined. Otherwise, here and there, we will be doing everything but not able to control. So that the scope and boundary has to be defined. Then evidences. If even if we do good, even if we do better, we need to have evidences for it. Okay. So that needs to be more accountable. That's why I told delegation of authority has to be given to in each JDs, so that it really boils down. Calculation gaps. So nowadays, this is measure, this is not right, this is good, this is so you have to have a universal, calculation, adopt to the universal calculation. So that would be more, more proficient and more good for you. Ownership gaps, of course, uh, when it comes to environment, energy, it is given to a department. Then social or something, it is given to HR or the CSR team. So let's not do that. Let's have a proper ownership, who does what, who monitors, who implements, who reviews. So those all things have to be there. And of course, assurance, that is more important. Next slide. This is not, just again an example. Okay, the dashboard should look like this. How many overdue kappa, control tested, supplier coverage, GHG quality, high risks, ESG risks. So those all things, it should look like this. So top management or a board, if you want in a single view wants to know what is happening, they can have a view, and it can be, drop down. What leadership should see. This is all they need to see. The kappa, where are we, what are we doing? So this all gives in a nutshell. Next slide. Uh, this is how typically days matters. This is, you can take in percentage. This is not a mandate, but can take in percentages. The bigger the company, it takes time to be, uh, to get the transition. Then this is the map. Discovery and scoping, risk identification. There has to be registered, control KPIs, governance. So this is a typical roadmap. Percentage wise, suppose one takes 1 to 30 days, for the first discovery. So it happens. It depends on companies to company, depends on the sectors you are working, depends on the geography you are working. So it's just an example. Next slide. So how can we help you? Of course, we can do gap assessments, we can do risk diagnostics, we can have workshops with you, we can integrate that into then ERM integration advisory, GHG climate readiness, of course, assurance readiness we can give. We can help in all of these, of course. Next slide. Uh, we majorly learned, this was actually my ambition to do that. So, to make people feel that ESG is not just in a department, or it should not work in silos. It should be embedded into the core, business operations of the businesses. Next slide. Any Q&A? We're open. Nitin.
Yeah. So now we open this session for the question and answers. So if you have any questions, please post them. Your microphones are disabled for now, but you can raise your hands and we will enable your microphones. You can unmute yourself and ask your questions.
So while registration, we got some queries.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. We got some
let's
questions in advance. So
yes.
yeah.
So we can actually take them one by one. Countries that have made ESG mandatory and product categories to cover countries that have notified to have ESG mandatory. Okay, so the major European Union has India, of course, they have their own BRSR. UK, Australia, Japan, they have all done. And suppose like EU follows CSRD and ECRS. In India, we have BRSR. Yes, many countries are there. So, of course, second questions. How can supply chain related ESG risk be measured and mitigated? I told that, but still, the first step is risk identification. The second is likelihood and impact. Third is risk ranking, then mitigation plan. Then you have to put it in the KPIs, timeline, and monitoring. We're done. Any more questions? I don't know which company. Okay. Of course, ESG, how will this support and benefit? It will actually give you a more holistic view of sustainability, being a sustainable organization rather than a typical, certificate view of it. It will give you, fourth. Which framework? There are many frameworks, many frameworks. You need to see what frameworks you want to adopt to, and which the geography you are, you are working on. So you need to follow that. We have the global standards. I'll tell you like GRI, TCFD, CDP. They're quite, What could organize be the organizational structure for implementation? So that this is what I talked really. So organizational structure is like, you have to embed ESG and sustainability in your organization. You cannot redefine your organizational structure to have ESG. Okay, the board will have certain KPIs, the CEO will have certain KPIs, the CFO will have, the managers will have, the VPs will have, then you know the lower management will have some KPIs. So it has to be embedded. It cannot have a different structure. Then any questions? There are multiple standards. Refer one, which is maximum requirements of sustainability. It's GRI. I suppose it's GRI. GRI is quite, uh, it's quite acceptable. And any questions in the chat box, Nitin?
Yes, we have 4 5 questions in the chat box. Yes, we'll take them. These are the advanced questions that we have received, right? Total
Yeah.
six. Okay. So in
Hmm.
chat box we have a question. Can we get this presentation?
I suppose that Nitin will take care.
Hmm. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we will definitely share the recording. Of course, Dana, we can
Yes.
share the recording, right, with the participants.
Yes.
Yeah, we can share the recording
Yes,
of
we will
this
be sharing the recording once available, as well as the
the
presentation
presentation.
materials in PDF format.
PDF format, yes. So we will be sharing that, so you can actually go through it. Because I've seen some people have joined after the session was started, so they must have missed some part. So we will definitely share the recording as well as the presentation. Second question: is there ESG certification roadmap prepared or of specific industry that can be prepared? What are the key data and documents typically required? Oh, there are so many questions, by the way. So I will go one by one. This is from Paran Chowdhury. Is there ESG certification roadmap prepared of specific industry?
Yes, if you see, I'll tell you, GRI, CDP, they talk of, if you go to GRI website also, they have sector specific, requirements. They will have it. Everything is because no two sectors, just remember, are equivalent. No two industry is also, no two industry is also correct. Why is it? Even no two companies. Why I say that my process will be different from yours, yours will be different from the other one. So our ESG transition and ESG goal will be different. Okay. It's not that whatever the X is doing, I'll do the same thing, or whatever Y is doing. So we have a different. So that's why that is where we are failing. Okay. What we are trying to do is we're trying to copy. Okay. Suppose the competitor does, I'll do. So you need to see your baseline, where you stand. Then you will be able to. Anyone else?
Yes, actually, we
Mm,
have a series of questions from Paran.
uh,
What are the key data and documents typically required? What is GHG inventory workbook and or PCF model
So it
with
depends. So
assumptions? Yeah.
PCF, yeah. So I'll answer. This is actually a lengthier question. I'll answer it.
Hmm.
Okay, then we'll go to next. So there are
Okay.
PCF models. Okay, there are PCF carbon. PCF, I'll tell you that to the larger audience is the product carbon footprint. It depends on product to product, industry to industry. It depends. So there is no standardized one. Okay. There are things available in internet. 1464 ISO 1464 is for GHG. 1444 is typically for NC. So yes. What impact does positive rating companies cost of capital? See, I'll tell you, Mr. Paran Chaudhary, if a company which is quite, there is a proper risk mapping and risk mitigation tool. Okay, then of course it will not have that impact. When you say financial analysis, there is no proper financial analysis, but yes, there is a financial analysis that has been done. When I say double materiality, it also includes the finance materiality. So there we embed the topics to the ESG. Then Ajay Johnson says, which is the best individual ESG certification? Ajay, this is a career. choice, where do you want to land? So it's quite, where do you want to land? Then Joseph Matthews, how do you plan to establish ESG governance, adopting system developed, established from developed countries? Uh, from developed countries, we need to learn, but we cannot copy it. Joseph Matthews, we would like to have our own, because our baselines are different from theirs. So that we need to have.
Okay. Uh,
Then Shubham
Arja,
says,
just to go back to the previous question, what Ajay
mm,
has asked Ajay Johnson.
mm.
Well, Ajay, I would encourage you to reach out to us separately. Write an email to our India certification team, and they will guide you which kind of ESG certification suitable for you. Okay, as per your aspirations, career aspirations, and your background. Okay, so do drop a email to us, and then Arja will write back to you. You please provide your background details. Okay, we will be sharing. You have the contact details of our Kotekna India office, but we'll be sharing Arja's email ID as well over the chat. Okay. Yeah, Arja, over to you. Paran has asked one more question. What is the primary focus of the Global Reporting Initiative (GRI) framework?
So it is quite wide. GRI is quite wide. That's why I told, which is the most, multiple standard refer to one which can comply the maximum, that is GRI. GRI has the maximum, applicability. It is quite wide and it is quite acceptable. And Subham Chaudhary, as different countries have different frameworks, if supply chain includes different countries, how can an organization comply them? Is different frameworks accepted? Yes, this should be a nice question. So, there is duplicacy. Okay, so you need to have a global framework. Okay, then of course you can have the framework that is asked to. There are global frameworks available. For supply chain, I suppose EcoVadis is one. EcoVadis is one. Then there is also for responsible sourcing nowadays ISO 20400, which is most sought after. That can be attached. Then Ali says, how does a trading house implement a ESG compliant structure? Is your organization able to assist in this case? Yes, of course. We'll be able to assist you. Uh, Trading house, Ali, if you can unmute and say what kind of trade you do. Okay. So, of course, we'll be able to help you. Dana, if you can give the contact slide, suppose that would be
Yeah, that will
better for the
be
audience.
better. Yeah, we have the contact us details.
Yeah. So, trading house, of course, trading house is normally you do not have manufacturing. So, the best thing is you have to take care of your entire supply chain.
Okay, Ali has
So,
answered. Chemical supply for heavy industries.
okay, there you need to have health, safety, everything. Okay, that has a, what you are trading of, how you are storing, all those things.
Yes. We have one
If
more question in the Q&A session, by the way. Yes, Techno Wax Scheme. Yeah, I've noted it down. Let Arja answer first question, then we will get back to you. Yes.
Okay, chemical supply and heavy industries. No,
Yeah, yeah.
so
Okay.
is if you see, you typically should have a warehouse. Okay, then you have a robust supply chain. Might be you are following hub and spoke model or any model as per your requirement. We have to see what model you are operating currently, what are your risks, and it is typically, we need to know the entire value chain. So what is exactly done is you have to, the first thing is, suppose you don't have a value chain, you have to define the value chain from end to end. Okay, by defining your value chain, you would be exactly knowing where the loopholes are and where I need to plug in. So there, that is the most important. Yes, Ali, you can contact us. We can revert them. Techno Saptam. If supplier provides their scope 1 and scope 2 emissions by email, can we use that in a scopal calculation? Uh, Furthermore, is supplier declared data considered acceptable GEG reporting? Declared data is acceptable, but there has to be some scrutiny. A third party scrutiny has to be there because it will come to your scope 3. So please do verify that. Even if they give you the data, you need to verify that. So that's why an internal checkpoint is should be there.
Please type in your questions in the chat box or Q&A session. Or yeah, we have Paran required to know carbon footprint calculation step by step, please, when possible.
I'll give you, sir. I'll give you.
Okay. Paran, meanwhile, I'll just share Arja's email ID with you. You can reach out to him separately. It seems we do not have any
Have
questions.
any questions?
Yeah, but
Yes.
then yes,
Sure.
any point of time, if you feel, if you have anything which was unanswered, or maybe if you need more information, reach out to Arja, reach out to our India certification team. Here are the contact details. You have mobile phone, you have telephone numbers. Reach out to them and yes, ask any queries that you have.
Okay. If you
Okay, then
have do
then
not
if
have,
you do not have any questions, yes, let us wrap up this session. And yeah, Ratnakar Pimpalkar, he has asked us carbon footprint calculation. Is it something that we provide?
yeah, can give you calculation sheets, but please do mail us. Where are you from and all. There are.
Hmm, hmm.
So she has given calculations. Okay.
Okay, we have
We can.
the email ID. Yeah, you can just note it down, Arja,
Yeah.
and then we will reach out to Ratnakar.
Yes.
Yes, certainly. We'll reach out to you. Yeah. Okay, then, if you do not have any
Okay.
questions, yeah, okay. Thank you. Yeah. So,
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
please note down these numbers and reach out to our team through these numbers and the email ID. You have Arja's email ID as well. At any point of time, you can reach out to me as well. I'm just typing in my email ID as well. Okay. Good. And, and thank you for joining this session and yes, encouraging us to discuss about the service offerings within ESG sector. Yes. Yep. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for the questions and making this webinar a success. Yes. We
You.
will
Thank you very
definitely reach out to
much.
you again with such engaging webinars in future as well. Yep.
Yes. So this is only
Thank
the
you.
start.
Yes, this is just the beginning. Yes, this is just the beginning. We will
Yes.
have such sessions in the future. Yes.
More
Yep.
often.
Thank you.
We'll
Thank
come
you
up
for your
with
support.
series so that you connect. Thank
Yes.
you.
Certainly.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And have a great weekend ahead, all of you.